What is your name? Toby. What? Toby. Getting old. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. What's poppin', people? It's your girl, Krista Monroe, and I have decided to start a new series on my channel, and it will be going over different American events. Hear me out. We will be discussing the good, the bad, the victories, the downfalls, the great loyalties, the great betrayals. You know, all of those American values this country was built on.
Well, shit.
I don't know quite yet what I want to name this series, but hopefully I will have it before I edit this video and it's uploaded. But who knows? Now, I have decided for my first video on this series to talk about the D.C Snipers. Now, at the time of these events, I was living in Virginia. I was a young lady, and I didn't really remember all of the things that happened at the time, so I wanted to go over the case as an adult and really go over the details and stuff like that. So these two assholes, geesh, like, wow. I will be doing my makeup at the same time. Like I said, I do not know what the name of this series is going to be. Of course, I've taken inspiration from different videos, but it's not necessarily it's all going to be murder and stuff like that. I just, you know, it's a little different. So I don't know quite yet what I want to name this series. If you have any suggestions, leave it down in the comment section. But I'm not going to babble any longer. We will get into the video. This is the case of the D.C Snipers. Let's go. Okay, boys and girls, we are starting off with a young man, well, not a young man, a baby named John Allen Williams. John was born December 31st, is that right? Yes, December 31st, 1960 in good old Louisiana, baby. John's father's name was Ernest Williams. He was a railroad porter. Now, if I figure out how to insert a picture somewhere in here, railroad porters, they were the guys, basically baggage handlers for railroads, basically. So, and it seemed to be a very, like, I guess, easy job for black men to have, because every old picture I see is nothing but black men working this job. Of course, baggage handlers in that time period, 60s, whatever. Now, also, he had a mother, of course. His mother name was Eva Ferris. I believe I'm saying her last name right. I didn't find out what his mother did. She may have just been a stay-at-home wifey. It was the 60s, common at that time. So, yeah, she may have just been a stay-at-home wifey, you know, hubby worked or whatever. Now, John was, oh my God, John was the firstborn out of 5 kids. They was getting it in, okay? No judgment here, but they was getting it in. Okay, so John was the firstborn of 5 kids, so a nice, large, happy, hard-working family. Everything seemed to be going quite well until John's mother, Eva, she ended up getting breast cancer. Now, John was only, I read 3 at the time, but then he was the firstborn of 5 kids. So I don't know how that math added up. Like, they was like popping them out, or age was wrong, but his mom ended up dying of breast cancer when he was pretty young. Now, this mentally messed his dad up. He couldn't focus. He couldn't keep his job. He was just mentally and physically, he just was not there for the kids. So he ended up just dropping his kids off over his sister and his parents' house. And John and his siblings ended up just being raised by his grandparents and his aunt. So yeah, his dad just couldn't handle it, I guess, anymore without his wife, and unfortunately, he just abandoned his kids as so, you know, not really a good start for John. I couldn't really find out anything else really about his early life. Like his siblings, like his aunt. I couldn't find out anything else. So, you know, they did a good job of just kind of, you know, burying his past up. But we're not going to get into that too much, but okay. In 1978, at 17, John ended up graduating high school. Yeah, lucky him, graduating at 17. He graduated from Scotlandville High School. Why the long names? But okay. Yeah, and right after he graduated high school, he enlisted in the Louisiana National Guard. Now, shortly after that, in 1981, he ended up marrying his high school sweetheart, Carol, and they ended up getting married and having his first son, Lindbergh. So, you know, he was doing great. So you would think, you know. So now he is married, he has a son, he has a really good job, so he's doing great for himself at this point in time. But these were kind of some of the first signs of John may have a little, you know, a little bit of an issue, especially with authority figures. Now, right after he got married, just a year later, in 1982, he was court-martialed for disobeying an order from his superior. And then, and a year later, in 1983, John was released from the National Guard for hitting another officer in the head. I don't know with what, but he hit someone dead ass, bow, on top of the head. I don't know what happened. He was just released right after that. So, you know, these were probably some of the first signs that John was showing that he may have an authority issue. And yeah, okay. Sorry, I had to stop struggling with this primer. I know it looked crazy, but pay attention to the story. Now, after John got released from the National Guard, he would do, you know, little jobs here and there. And he just came to a revelation that I guess he just needed a change in his life or something. I don't know. Because in 1985, he decided that he was going to divorce his wife and convert to the Nation of Islam. Now, don't really know where all of this came from, but I did see a story where, I don't know if it's true or not, but they were like, I'm laughing because he wrong as hell if this is true. he ended up having like a secret apartment that his wife at the time, Carol, didn't know about. And somehow, some way, she found out about the secret apartment. She ended up going over there. He had some little bitch in there. And she was like, you know what? I'm done. And that was kind of like the end of that at that point. So, like I said, they got divorced. He converted to Islam, changed his last name to Muhammad, and now he was John Allen Muhammad, the man we know today. After they ended up getting divorced, John would go to different friends and say that Carol would try to keep their son from him. He wasn't like allowed to really see him that much, and every time he did see him, he wasn't like kept up and yada yada yada. Looked like he was being mistreated. All of this is allegedly. This is what he is saying, but also, can we really trust his word? I don't know. So this is what he was saying. So he ended up not really seeing his son really after that, after they ended up getting divorced. And I think that played a big part in a lot of things as well. Now, at the same time, I think it's the same year or maybe like the next year, he enlists in the army as well. Now, I was a little confused because I don't know how you can go from one branch of like the military to another one, especially if you got released for hitting somebody in the head. I don't get how he was like rehired, but okay, like I said, crazy times. I don't know. So, yeah, he enlists back in the army. Now, while Mr. John was in the army, he became an expert with an firearm that the army uses, M16. Hopefully I find a picture and insert it somewhere here. He qualified as an expert while he was in the army with this weapon. Now, this is another thing that will play a part in things later on. So, while he was in the army, he got relocated to Washington. Now, while in Washington, he met a young woman of the name of Mildred Green. Now, Mildred, of course, ended up being his second wife. They got married, had 3 more kids. You know, he was starting over, getting his ish together, and, you know, sounded great. A lot of the friends, especially in interviews, they were like, they were a very happy family. They were always gentle with the kids, always a unit. Anytime like the kids had issues of a problem, he would be very direct and understanding with the kids, but understand that they would, you know, he was a really good dad at the time, so friends said. So, you know, I don't know what happened. In 1990, John would serve in the Gulf War as an engineer. So he didn't see like a lot of action on the field, but you know, he was out there doing his duties and serving his country or whatever. So now, when John came back from the war, that's where a lot of the problems started to happen. Now, in recent studies, in recent years, scientists have kind of gone over like different brain scans, situations, going over like the damage, the psychological damage some of the soldiers had coming back from war, and a lot of them ended up having neurological damage because at that time, dust mask and shielding your face from all types of debris and dust and shit like that, that wasn't that was something new to the game. Like, they wasn't worried about covering their face and you inhaling all types of ish and you don't know. It was a lot at the time. So, of course, now you will see if they're in a place that's a lot of dust and stuff, you will see people with masks to make sure they have proper ventilation and breathing clean air, because that can be very damaging to breathe in all that bad stuff. But like I said, at the time, that wasn't really a thing. So, that has been theorized that maybe that was one of the issues that was going on with John at the time. Theorized, because I don't really think anyone did like a study on John to check for these types of things. Honestly, I don't really think they cared. Yeah, I don't really even think they cared to even try to do a study like that. But anyway, like I said, it's when John came back home, the problems started to happen. Now, John would become very verbally abusive and even physically abusive towards Mildred a lot. And this was something very new that John was doing. Any little thing would set him off. Mildred was dead ass scared for her life. So, and he would even be verbally abusive towards the kids. Now, I don't know if he was physically abusive towards the kids, but he was definitely mentally and verbally abusive towards the whole family. And Mildred did what any good mom would do. She said it was time for a divorce, and she packed up her kids and got the on. So, in December of 1990, Mildred filed for divorce from John, and this pissed John off a little bit because he had the bright idea that he was going to kidnap his own goddamn kids. Yeah, John ended up kidnapping his own kids. Now it is 2000, because December 1990, now it's 2000. John takes the kids and he ends up going to the Caribbean. He ends up working, providing, like he was legit not going nowhere. He was going to keep his kids there, and Mildred was not going to see her kids. Like, he started working, he had a business. He started, I'm assuming he was good at what he did. He started making fake visas and fake paperwork for people to get so they can travel to the United States. So, like I said, I'm assuming he was really good at it because he was getting paid for it. Now, while John is in the Caribbean, this is when he would meet a young boy by the name of Lee Malvo. Lee Malvo was born February 18th, 1985 in Jamaica. Now, Lee's father's name was Leslie Malvo. Didn't really find out what he actually did for a job or if he had one or not. And his mother's name was Una, I think I'm saying that right, Una James. Now, didn't really find out if she really did anything as well. Now, shortly after that, a couple of years later, in 1990, Lee's father ends up just peacing out and leaving his son and his baby moms, or I'm not sure if they got married or anything, but leaving them abandoned. So this kind of, you know, for a young kid, this is heartbreaking. Your dad just walked out on you, and something, you know, a grown man who was looking to influence a child may take advantage of. Now, when Lee turned 9, his mother, Una, sent him to live with his aunt. Now, his mother, Una, good old Una, She was something. I'm judging. She would leave Melvo a lot of places, claiming that she was, she needs to find work. She needs to go do this, that, and the third. So she would just leave Melvo with different people, his aunt, this, that, and the third. So, but, with his dad gone, mom's gone all the goddamn time, this is very damaging for a child. Even though, like, his aunt loved him, took care of him, he was very, very sad a lot of the times, and he just did not understand, like, why everyone keeps leaving him. And it breaks my heart. Now, while Lee was in the 6th grade now, he took an entry exam for some type of like special high school. It's called York Castle High School. Fancy. Now, like I said, Lee was only in the 6th grade and he took his exam for high school and he got accepted. He was a very smart kid. Very smart kid. He was also very artistic. He would draw all the time and he would use this as his escape. So this kid, he had a lot of good things going for him, and jeez. But even though, like I said, he was very smart, his aunt was there, he would still be very, very, very depressed. And one time he ended up trying to off himself, and this is him being a kid trying to do this, and he was just honestly a kid with a broken heart, and so sad. And so, but now flash forward to now Lee being 14, he runs into a man named John, and he sees him taking care of his kids, providing, being in tune, and Lee just attaches himself to John immediately. And I'm just assuming, like, in Lee's mind, he's like, I finally have a dad, I finally have someone here. And unfortunately, it was the wrong person to attach himself to. But once again, this is a 14-year-old child with obvious abandonment issues going on. So now, around this time that John kidnapped his own kids, Mildred, of course, is looking for her kids back in the United States. So she finds out from someone that John is in the Caribbean with the kids. So she decides to call the local police and like, hey, my husband stole my kids, you need to go arrest him. So the police finds John, arrests him, takes the kids, sends them back to the United States with their mother. Of course, he's released from custody, whatever, because technically it's his kids. I don't think they can really charge him with kidnapping or anything. But, of course, they released him because they just had to send the kids to America. So now, John has to go back to America and go to court for custody of the kids. You know, the legal way, the way he was supposed to do it in the first place. Now, everyone's back in America, and John starts pleading his case of why he should have full custody of his kids. And in his mind, he made perfect sense on why he should have full custody of his kids, even though he literally just, kidnapped his own kids and took them to a whole different country without informing the mother. He really felt like he should have his kids. Mildred in the court system thought otherwise. Now, of course, the courts ruled in Mildred's favor, and John loses all custody of his kids. He doesn't even have visitation rights at this point. Because, you know, all of the stupid shit he has done. At this point, John loses all his little brain cells that he had left. He lost his shit, okay? And at this point, he was like, bitch, over my dead body. He was not having it. And this is where he just basically declared war on the mother of his kids. And it's just not good. Now, after losing custody of his kids, he flies back to the Caribbean and meets up with Lee. Now, at this time, Lee's mother decided she wanted to be around, and he was like, John was like, look, to Lee's mother, I'll make you a deal. I will make you some paperwork. I will make you paperwork, your visa to get into America if you leave Lee with me. Now, in my mind, I will at least say, that makes no sense. You want me to leave my child with you, I don't know you, and for paperwork, you just want my child for paperwork. Like, in my mind, that doesn't make sense. But in Lee's mother's mind, Una, she was like, ding, 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 bitch. This is what I've been waiting on this whole time, was get to America, bitch. So she was like, okay, cool. Now, later on in interview, she claimed the plan was, once she got to America, they were all supposed to meet up, and she was supposed to get Lee back, and da-da-da-da-da-da, whatever. But my foot is like, a grown man is asking you to leave your child. It doesn't seem weird to you, lady. It seems weird to me, but okay. Okay, so, but, you know, she jumps at it. She was like, okay, I agree. So, he makes the paperwork for her and Lee, because, of course, the plan was them all to go to America, but she was sent first. So, she goes first, and I think like a month or so later, not really sure on the date, they go to America as well. I assume Malvo's mother was telling the truth somewhat, but whatever. But in 2001, Lee makes it to Miami, but by December, him and his mother is arrested by Border Control in Washington. Now, I know you might be like, Washington, but remember, John was stationed in the military in Washington. Now, at this time, I doubt he was still in the military, but, you know, that was home for him. In 2002, in January, Lee was released from Border Control on a $500 bond. This is another thing that I was a little confused with. I thought you were kind of just, like, if you got caught by Border Control, like, they automatically just kind of send you. I didn't know you can just pay a bond and be released. Okay, but all right. It makes me think why so many people make a big deal about border issues when you can literally just pay a bond once you're caught by Border Control to get out. Anyway, so I don't know if this is still the case for Border Control, but it was in 2002. You can just pay a payment and you will still released back into society, so whatever. Now, after Malvo is released, him and John, they just bounce around from different homeless shelters to different friends of John's, just staying on people's couches, in the car, like I said, homeless shelter. They were just bouncing around from different places to different places. Not really a good place for a young man to, you know, grow and be prosperous, but, you know, John was his dad at this point. Wherever John was going, he was going. Now, one of the places that John and Melville would go a lot was one of John's friends named Earl Dancy. Earl was one of, like, you know, John's closest friends. So he would stay there the most with them because, you know, he the homie. I ain't gonna let you sleep on the street, you know, just stay over. Around this time, Earl would notice changes, would notice things about John that he really didn't really notice quite before while he was, you know, living with him. You see people in a different light once you live with them. And in interviews, later on when Earl would give interviews, he would state, like, I saw like a completely different side of John. John was a very manipulative person. And he knew how to get exactly what he wanted out of people. And, you know, unfortunately, one of those people was Melville. Now, John did do something right. He did enroll Melville into school at this time. A lot of kids that went to school with Melville would just say he was, very quiet, but, you know, didn't do nothing very crazy, you know, the quiet kid in the back of the class, you know. But yeah, they would just say he was very quiet, shy. He would have a couple of friends that he would talk to, but for the most part, like I said, the quiet kid in the back of the class, basically. Earl, you know, John's friend, also noticed a change in Melville as well. Melville became very angry and agitated for no reason, and he wasn't that person before, like a sweet kid, just, you know, looking for someone to help mold and shape him, and he was being molded and shaped into a very, you know, a little angry little bastard. That wasn't his normal personality, and, you know, Earl noticed that early on while, of course, they were living with him. So now John decides that after school he was going to take Melville to shooting practice every day after school. Also, I know this foundation is off. We're gonna work it out. I've been in the sun. I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna fix it. But, you know, pay attention. Yeah, like I said, this was the activity that, you know, John decided that this was going to be their bonding activity, I guess. Now, at this time, Melville was getting really, really, really good at shooting. Like, really good. To the point where John would even mention to other people, like, Lee even is a better shot than I am, and I know I'm good at what I do, and, you know, like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for a teenager. Well, in this case, a very bad thing because he used it for the wrong things. But you know, John was very proud of this little soldier that he was getting up there, who's getting better than him at some points. So John also had this little thing that he would have Melville do, and that was just play sniper video games, any type of violent video games that he could find. And he had like a weird obsession with the Matrix movie that he would make Melville watch. I'm assuming, you know, we're all in the system, military system, you know. I guess he was trying to get that aspect of the Matrix over to Melvo with the valid video games. He basically just trying to brainwash this kid in the best way, and he was, you know, very efficient in what he was doing and trying to, unfortunately, change this young man for the worse. So yeah, this would be this thing. After school, shooting practice, all day, all night. When you get home, playing violent video games, watching violent movies. Not saying that these are the things that make kids go crazy and they go but I'm sure it wasn't a help, especially when it's being forced down your throat in a negative way. John also decided at this time that they were going to go on some weird ass diet of crackers and honey. I don't know why, but John just decided that crackers and honey was just enough food for him and Melville to live off of. And he did take like different supplements and vitamins and stuff to kind of offset the fact that they weren't really eating anything. But yeah, for his food, crackers and honey, bitch, that was it. Now, at the time of this, you know, crackers and honey diet, going to shoot every day, yada, 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 bull-ish. Later on in court records, Lee would say that John's whole plan at this time was to recruit a whole bunch of young kids and basically turn them into super soldiers. And they were just gonna start this revolution, and yeah, that was one of his plans, I guess. 2 days before Lee's 17th birthday, on February 22nd, 2002, John sent Melvo on his very first mission. There was a woman, a friend of Mildred's, that testified against John during the court hearings. So, you know, so Mildred can get full custody of her kids. She testified against John. So John had this personal vendetta against her for, you know, you helped my kids get taken away. So he decided that he was going to send Melvo over to her house to kill her. Melvo, of course, at this time, very much so all about John. This is the man who saved his life, yada, 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 bada, bada, bada. So he decided he was going to do it. So, like I said, February 22nd, he goes to this young woman's house. Now, Melvo walks up to the door, knocks, but the woman was not home. But someone was. The woman's niece was over her house. I don't know, just waiting till she got home, house sitting, but the person that he was meant to go over and shoot, she wasn't there. And honestly, I don't even know if Melville knew what the woman looked like, but he just knew he was going over this house to shoot a woman, and that was the plan. So the niece opens the door. As soon as she opens the door, Melville shoots her point blank in the face. Just open the door, bow, and leaves. And now, at the age of 16, Melville has committed his first murder, all on the orders of Mr. John. Yeah, this. Now, I Honestly, I just feel like this was a test just to see how much control that he really had over Melvo, to see if he would really do it. And once he knew that he got it, he took full advantage of that. After that, John decided they were going to take this road on the show. This road on the show.
Yeah, what the hell, Summer?
Summer, you dumb bitch.
How long were we out?
How much
you
of
dumb
interdimensional
bitch?
cable did
How
we
many
miss,
improv
Summer, you
TV
stupid
shows
bitch?
and commercials did
Why
we
did you
miss,
let us fall
Summer?
asleep,
Stupid
you dumb
bitch?
Now, after that situation happened, John decided that they were going to take this show on the road, and he had a plan. After that situation, John and Melvo, they basically just live in their car, going over their plans to kind of disrupt the world, basically. So months they just basically live in their car. Now, their car wasn't big at all, so I'm like, I don't know how that, I don't know. Well, I think it was like a Kano, I don't know. They kind of speak, I don't know, whatever. Now, they're living in their car, they're traveling different places, I guess, trying to figure out where, you know, where they're going to make all these destructive plans and actions happen at. And they miraculously decide that they're going to, you know, set foot in DC. DC was going to be the center of where they were going to start all these horrific acts. Sorry, I'm back. Had to put these lashes on and, you know, put a little powder on before she started freezing. My apologies. I didn't want to be struggling to put these lashes on camera. It would have been 2 minutes and I don't got time. So, like I said, John and Melvo, they travel state to state, and they decided that they were going to make DC their home. Shortly after that, John and Melvo decided that it was time to start whatever they had planned. On October 2nd, 2002, at 5:20 p.m., shots was fired outside of a Michael's. A window was broken, but no one was harmed at that time. On October 3rd, the very next day, a man who was just cutting his grass at 7:40 in the morning was shot and killed right outside while he was cutting the grass. At 8:12 a.m., not even an hour, right afterwards, a woman, I believe it was a woman, she was shot and killed while at a gas station. Hold on, there's more. At 8:37 a.m., a woman was killed in front of a post office. At 9:15 a.m., another one, I believe it's a man, sorry, a man was killed while standing on the side of the street. At 9:58 a.m., another woman was killed while she was vacuuming her car. Now, how many murders was that? And this is all not even 2 hours. They have killed this many people already. And now at this time, the police aren't really putting things together quite yet. This is day 2 for John and Melvo at this point, but police are still not really putting 2 and 2 quite together yet, because one, the shooters were so close after each other, in anybody's mind they're not thinking this is the same person that like every 20 minutes is going around shooting. Like, they're not really thinking that, but they should have. Now, the next day, I guess they were done for the day on October 3rd. On October 4th, a woman was wounded outside of a Michael's in Virginia. It wasn't the same Michael's. I don't know what they had going on with Michaels or whatever. But a woman was wounded. She was not killed. On October 4th, after the woman was wounded, police now are kind of getting more information about what's going on. And now they're kind of putting two and two together that maybe we have a serial killer or something going on. Because it was just, at this point, they had to like warn everybody and let people know that, you know, there may be a situation going on and people need to be safe. Now, also, one of the things, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Now, at this time, when police and FBI and everyone was trying to kind of get a guess on who this person could be, yada, yada, yada. Now, this was the FBI, not me saying this was the FBI, and truth be told, everyone kind of thought the same thing. Now, FBI profiled the killer as a middle-aged white guy, married and miserable with his life with kids, and he was just taking it out on the world. This was the FBI's profile, and you know, through America's history, things like this tend to be, you know, crazy white people. Sorry. Get your cousins sometimes. But, of course, John and Melvo are two black men. So, no one was really looking for them at all. Like, FBI and police, they kind of just had in their head, this got to be a middle-aged white guy, miserable, mad at the world. This has to be him. And one other thing that kept circling around was, at one of the shootings, someone saw, like right after the shooting happened, someone saw someone leaving with a white van. So they literally, like, whole conspiracy, it was a white van. Everyone was looking for people with white vans. If you had a white van, you was suspicious. Like, it was in, I will show you a picture of John and Melvo's car. It was not a white van, not at all. So, when I tell you no one was looking for these two, no one was looking for these two. At all. Like, at all. So, I guess John and Melvo, they decided to take a little break. Because at this point, it was like news and, you know, police had to be a little, you know, honest about what was going on, because it was random shootings. No one knows what's going on. You have to be safe. You have to warn the city, basically. So, John and Mello, they take a little break, but not too long. Like I said, John and Melvo didn't take a break for too long, because by October 7th, they shot and wounded a young boy, just 13 years old, 13, getting off of the school bus. He was shot and wounded. They didn't kill him. Now, after this point, they were like, damn, not even children are safe. And yeah, they just were assholes. Like, who shoots a kid getting off of a bus? Like, all of this was fucking crazy. But once they shot the kid, it was kind of like, oh, parents stopped sending their kids to school. Like, they stopped going to work. Like, it just started, at this point, getting crazy. John and Melville takes another couple of days, and on October 7th, a man was shot and killed at the gas station. On October 11th, another man, he was wounded while pumping gas at a gas station. I'm assuming that they just realized, like, gas stations were, like, easy targets because people are just literally standing there pumping gas. So a lot of the shootings did happen at gas stations. On October 14th, a woman was shot and killed outside of a Home Depot, and around this time is when police, they honestly started kind of cluing in who were doing the murders. Of course, the murderers being Lee and Malvo. Of course, the murderers being Lee and John. During these altercations, John and Malvo decided that they were going to taunt the police, that they were going to leave little notes behind saying different things. I am God, we will shoot more children. One note was asking for money. It was just random-ish that they were just saying. I'm assuming just to kind of antagonize the police and get them riled up and stuff like that. But it's also where they up at. Like I said, they were getting closer to who they thought it was, but they still did not catch these two bastards at this time. Because on October 19th, a man was wounded leaving dinner with his family. Wounded, not killed. On October 22nd, a man was shot and killed on his way to get started on his day. He was a bus driver, just parked outside of where he would start his route normally. I guess he was just, getting the bus started, cleaning up, whatever. And he was shot and killed getting off of his bus. Now, this would end up being John and Melvo's last murder, because on October 24th, the police arrested John and Melvo sleeping in their car. They finally were caught after multiple murders. Now, Lee and Malvo, they are finally caught sleeping in a car. Now, why did it take so long for them to be caught? Like I said in the beginning, no one was looking for two black men. People were very certain in the beginning, especially in the beginning, that it was, like I said, a white guy driving a van, basically. That was what the main focus on. But like I said, until they started really getting those letters and notes from them, that's when they kind of started putting two and two together. Because these two smarty pants, they was leaving their fingerprints and DNA all over those notes and tarot cards and like that they were leaving behind. I guess they didn't think to wear rubber gloves and maybe not use their own saliva to lick a note close. I guess it just didn't dawn on either one of them. More so, I'm blaming John on that. Dude, you're committing murders. Why are you leaving your DNA? Like I was saying, battery died. So yeah, they would at least have John's fingerprints from when he was in the military, and then they would have Melvo's fingerprints at least from when he got arrested at border control. So I'm not really sure on why not wearing gloves was a part of the plan. I don't know. I'm assuming it was just pure arrogance, they're not going to find us, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it was the main thing that ended up getting them caught was leaving that DNA behind. Now, at trial, prosecutors would suggest John's main reasoning for the crimes was he was trying to get back at his wife. Now, peep. Now, after John loses custody of his kids, Mildred, of course, leaves, moves, and of course, because she has full custody, she's not telling John where she's at. So John is, of course, obsessive and starts looking for Mildred, and he finds out from someone that Mildred moved to Washington, D.C. Prosecutors would suggest that John's plan was to commit all these murders, make them look as random as possible, and in the mix of committing all these murders, he would murder Mildred. And in the midst of oh my God, this woman has kids. Who was the parent? Of course. Then John pops up. Hey, here I am. I can come get my kids now. And like this was like one of his plans. This was what prosecutors would suggest. And to me, it kind of makes sense. Because nothing else does make sense. Nothing else makes sense besides that theory to me. Like the whole child soldier thing. No. Like it's gonna be a no for me on the whole like child soldier thing. Like I really don't think that was his main issue. I know that's what he told Melvo to kind of get him into it, but I think in the back of John's mind he was like, you know what, I'm gonna kill my wife, get my kids, and then maybe he was gonna like turn his kids into like child soldiers or whatever. But I don't think that was like the main plan. Well, like I said, one of the main reasons that they ended up getting caught was because of DNA. Now, police, while they were putting two and two together, in different states, they found John and Melvo's DNA. It's not funny, but it's kind of ridiculous that it's just kind of ridiculous that none of this was kind of put together a little sooner. They linked John and Melvo to several different crimes, murders, injuries, petty thefts, things like that. They linked them to different crimes in Georgia, Louisiana, and Arizona. So that whole in Virginia, Maryland area where most of the sniper attacks happened, they were not the only things these two were doing. They had a whole other list of crimes in other states as well. So I guess they were just kind of using those places as trial runs. They were just kind of using people for what they can, killing people as they went and kind of got their way into DC. So they ended up linking them to quite a few different crimes. Now, like I said, they should have been caught a long time ago, because if cops were just in better communication at the time, soon as the DNA from in Georgia, Louisiana, Arizona was like uploaded, like this should have been sent out to all police stations. Like I don't know. I don't know what the communication was back in the time, 2002 time. Like I don't know. But it could have, lives could have been saved had police kind of put that together a little earlier. But they ended up catching them. It is what it is. But yeah. John was sentenced to death on March 9th, 2004, and he was executed on November 10th, 2009. Now, that whole time during the trial, execution, he did not show not 1 ounce of remorse. There's even pictures of him in the courtroom just kind of smiling, just not giving a F, he just didn't have any remorse. His first son did end up visiting him in jail right before he ended up getting lethal injection. He visited him right before he died. His first son didn't really say much about the conversation. It was just, his dad just didn't have any remorse about what he did, and he just, he was ready to die for it at that point, I guess. In Lee's case, it was a little bit different. He ended up pleading guilty to 6 counts of murder and ended up getting convicted of 6 life sentences without the chance of parole. Now, in 2017, a new law was put in force saying that anyone that was under the age of 18 and was convicted of murder, like capital charge of murder, whatever, they couldn't be sentenced without a chance of parole. So, Lee and his lawyer decided to try to go to court to overturn his sentence. And Lee is now up for parole in the year of 2024. Now, will he get out? Probably not. This was just a law to give people the chance for the opportunity for parole. Now, this man did some things. Even though he was young while he did it, I doubt they let this man out of jail. He most likely will be spending the rest of his life in jail. And anyway, even if he does get out in jail in Virginia, he has other charges in other states that as soon as he would be released, they will snatch his ass up and take him to those states for those charges. So even with the chance of parole, he ain't getting out, baby. That's because before he has a chance of parole, he's not getting out. Now, since the murders, Melvo has shown some remorse, reaching out to the victims' families, writing them calls, and just pleading his sorries, knowing that he was wrong. Now him being older and away from John, him growing and realizing, talking to different people, like, I was young and very dumb, and I made some very, very bad decisions in my life. So I kind of believe Melvo in the remorse department because he was young, very easily to manipulate. Like, it was I don't know about Melvo, but in some type of, sunshine in Mr. Melvo's life, in recent years, at the age of 35, Mr. Melvo, in March of 2020, he ended up getting married to some young lady. Now, I have seen the pictures of who the lady is supposed to be. I'm not going to put them up because, one, I'm not sure if that is her, and two, like, y'all already know what she looked like. Like, there's a particular type of woman that wants to be married to someone who's been convicted of multiple murders. There's a particular type of woman that wants to be married to those type of people. And they end up all looking the same. So I'm sure if you look up Lee Melvo married, a picture of her will pop up. I'm not going to put it up because I'm not going to put it up. But he's married now, 35. I guess he's trying to find some type of normalcy in his very unnormal world. And that is the case of the D.C Snipers. Yeah, like I said, John, I really don't think John really had any real chance, to be honest. I honestly feel like it was always going to be something. If it wasn't, something was going to set John off, unfortunately. Something was always going to set John off, I feel like, and he was a lost cause, I don't feel it. But Melvo, I feel bad for him. I'm not gonna lie. He did some crazy ass shit. He did some crazy stuff. But he was also very, very young and very easily influenced and had he met the right person earlier on, I don't think he would have ended up this person. So in John's case, yeah, die by bitch. But I don't know. I'm just kind of up in there with Mel. I don't know. Does he deserve to get out of jail? Absolutely not. But does he not deserve a second? I don't know. Look, I don't know. Like I said, I'm very up in the air about that situation. But yeah, this is my first video in this series. I hope you guys liked it. If you guys have any other suggestions about any other stories, events, situations that happen in good old US of A, let me know in the comment section. I will have all the makeup linked down below. And yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. I can't wait to continue this series. I have a couple of different things planned. But yeah, thank you all so much for spending your time with me. Make sure you come back. I got a couple of other videos on this channel you can take a look at. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. For the couple of subscribers that I do have, I appreciate y'all for riding with your girl, and more to come. Thank you guys so much, and yeah, stay safe out there. Be loud.